The outcome of the last game was not what we were looking for. There's a lot of bright spots that we can build off of, especially offensively. We ran the ball a little better last week, converted some on third down. But if you look at us, probably, one time we had way too many penalties that created negative plays, negative yardages. Had one in the red area that knocked us out of having a 3rd and 10. We had to run the ball and kick a field goal. But there is a lot of positives we can build off of. Defensively, didn't stop the run, didn't create many negative plays and gave up some explosive plays. Gotta eliminate that. It's interesting when you watch probably the first 24 plays versus the last 30 plays in the game, the difference on when it comes from a defensive standpoint, the production. So we've got to improve there. Kicking game, got to do better on kickoff cover. Play with a lot more speed on the kickoff cover. Got to get some guys that do a little better job going hand to hand and not giving up 1-for-1s down there. Our kickers, again, done a really good job. They've done a good job all year along with their snappers. So there's lots of lessons that we can learn, and we've got to take them and move forward. I thought that last week we practiced really well. I think it showed in the game how we performed, but we've got to be able to finish and find a way to win games like that. And we've got a really good opponent this week in Charlotte. Their coaching staff has a ton of experience. They're very well coached, offensively and defensively. They eliminate the run in the run game. Get lots of turnovers. They give you multiple looks offensively. Run the football. I know they've had an injury at quarterback, but they've got a guy that's got experience, and the guys are well coached in the special teams. So we've got to focus on us and try to improve. I think when we do that, it shows up on Saturdays, and then we've got to take it to the game, and we've got to do a good job to finish in a game.
Questions? David and Jesse.
Jeremy, last week was the first time you had kind of a tight game as a head coach. How would you kind of assess your game management performance in the last fourth quarter of tight game?
Well, as what? What I don't
just
know.
Just kind of, you mentioned earlier this year you would felt like you had regretted some timeouts you took or not taken earlier in the game, and just if there's anything that stuck out to you in the fourth quarter that you felt like you would do differently.
No, I think based off the way the game was going, I would have done everything the exact same way.
You mentioned the first 25 plays defensively, Jeremy, in the back. The first 25 plays, you thought you guys were doing some things right. The last 33, when you turned on the tape, what did you see there that kind of went wrong for you guys?
Well, they done a really good job offensively. They gave us a lot of looks that we hadn't seen. They got in, what we call silver personnel, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, and a run back, and opened up the formations and moved some of the guys around. So it's not a lot of what they've done, and they done a really good job. And we didn't fit some runs up the correct way, and obviously, down there. There's a couple of plays in the game. You got the 2 minute before the half, okay, which is probably the most important part of the first half is the last 2 minutes. We put a great drive together. We get a penalty, an undisciplined penalty. We give them field position, and then they move the ball down. They convert 1 3rd down and pop a run down there to the goal line, and we turn a guy loose when we're fixing to sack a guy. So that part of it, and then in the second half we start out the second half, put a really good drive together, get in there, score, and then they bounce back and do some things that they hadn't did in the first half, and go down the field and score, and then from there we give up a big play on a pass play down there that gets the ball to the 1 or 2 yard line. That we've got to make them earn it.
John and Jimmy.
Jeremy, as you head down the stretch of recruiting, get to that early signing date, does that put a strain on your staff or not?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if you're not recruiting every day, then you're probably not going to be a good recruiter. So we've got to recruit every day, regardless of when the signing date is. So I think our guys know that.
Jimmy.
Jeremy, two things. One, what is Samaglia's range, and how strong did you consider trying that field goal from about 52 or 53 yards?
Yeah, you always in the pregame you get the kicker's range, and going the other way, it was at the 35, and going to our tunnel was the 30. We were at the 35. We knew the wind had died down a little bit, but to me at that point in the game, we're either going to go for it or we're going to kick a field goal, and we felt like we were a little bit out of his range. The play before we drop a pass, which we're going to have the ball either 4th and 1 on the 30 or 29-yard line, and we're in his range. So we understood that. We called a play to gain to make sure that we possibly could gain the first down, possibly be in a 4th and short to have choices, and we didn't execute there. So especially on the next down.
And then South Carolina had what looked like might have been a fumble. What did you see on film, and then what was the explanation from the officials?
Well, it was definitely a fumble. That was, I saw that. Unfortunately, for the officials, they only have certain angles that they can see, and from their angles, they didn't see that. I mean, you can look at it on our film; it's obvious a fumble. It's disappointing for me because I felt like I could see it from the sideline, but. You know what? They have a tough job to do, just like we have a tough job to do, and those guys are doing the best they can, and they got to take what they have to work with it. It's an unfortunate circumstance, but the officials had nothing to do with us getting 9 penalties. They had nothing to do with us losing the battle at the line of scrimmage. That's only one small part of the game.
Did they tell you they blew the whistle on that play?
No, nobody blew a whistle. So they just didn't see the fumble, counted him down.
Coach, on the offensive line, I mean, you didn't start what looked like a prototypical SEC offensive line in that game, and your guards and moving Trey around. How were you able to find success in the run game like you did? What did you guys do different?
Well, I think we've done a good job offensively, giving them different looks. I mean, we've been pretty multiple the last 3 games. If you go back to the Auburn game, Alabama, and this game, we've presented probably a lot of problems for those defenses. Just being able to line up based off formationally, giving them different looks, different personnels. That one thing that we didn't do, we didn't have a lot of explosive plays. We only had 3 explosive plays. So far and away, this was our best output offensively. We wasn't relying just on explosive plays. We need to create more, and we had opportunities to do that. But we had breakdowns in protection, and a couple of times I didn't feel like we threw the ball to the right side of the field, and then we had a drop. So the plays were there to be made from the explosive standpoint, but I thought from an execution and kind of getting more plays right was far and away our best game offensively. Didn't turn the ball over, converted 3rd downs, just really killed ourselves with penalties.
Kind of following up on that, Marcus Tatum, what was your evaluation of how he played there at left tackle? And then also, second question, just how versatile do you think this offense is? You mentioned him kind of being multiple and giving defenses various looks. Well,
You can be multiple a couple of different ways. You can have lots of playmakers, and you can get them the ball in all different scenarios, or you can give them different things formationally, personnel-wise. Maybe give them some things that they don't think they're going to get, and create some edges that way. And I think our staff has done a good job with that. The last 3 teams we've played, we've been very familiar with defensively wise. We all kind of come from the same background, so that's helped because you kind of know what you're going to get a little bit just from our standpoint. We're all kind of from the same defensive tree. As far as Marcus Tatum, Marcus is a smart guy. He played hard for a guy that's not been playing left tackle, and I don't know if he's ever played left tackle, but I'm sure there's things that he could improve on, and he will.
Brian, and then Stephen West.
Coach, the last two games, 18 total penalties. I think you had 5 offensive pre-snap penalties Saturday. What do you do to address that moving forward?
Well, for one, some of them are unforced, lack of judgment, and we can definitely fix that. I think a lot of the penalties Saturday were, going on the clap and not hearing the cadence. So when you're playing on the road, we've got to do a better job of communicating, knowing when it's coming. I think getting in and out of the huddle faster, so the offensive linemen are not having to make calls up there, as the play clock's going down. I think that would help. And that goes a bunch of different ways. That can go from hustling back to the ball. I think right now, based off where we're at offensively, we operate much better out of a huddle because we've had so many guys turn over. And some of that's hustling back to the ball. Some of that's breaking out of the huddle. Some of it's as simple as we huddle 3 yards from the ball. There's 4 or 5 times in the game somehow we huddled 8 to 10 yards from the ball. Some of it's the quarterback, standing right next to the huddle. So there's not much movement from him getting the signal. Some of it might be getting the play in faster. But all of those things would help speed up the fact of where we're not making calls. The O-line's trying to ID the mic or the front and I think would help in the communication of the simple thing as a clap. So we've got to do that.
Stephen Wentz.
Obviously, you've had a few true freshmen in the secondary making major contributions this season. I'm just wondering, what is it about this particular conference that makes it difficult for true freshmen to come in and play right away, or do you think it's any different in this conference than anywhere else?
It's probably no different in any conference. If you're going to play young guys, they got to be mature. They've got to know how to prepare. Lots of times the guys can start off really well early, but because of the grind of the season, the academic part, sometimes sustaining throughout the year. But you look at it all over the country, there's teams that play lots of freshmen. But probably more times than not, the teams that have experience, it probably shows on Saturday. There's nothing more valuable you can get than just going out there and playing and kind of getting used to it.
West and Caleb.
Jeremy,
just clearing up that fumble issue, was that did y'all not challenge that just because you thought the officials were already looking at it, or did you get an indication of why maybe the replay official didn't buzz it in?
Well, there's no more coaches' challenges anymore. That's
That'd be
all.
a good reason.
Yeah, there's everything. Every play is reviewed by the officials, and so they look at everything from targeting to the spots, so turnovers, all that stuff. So, but they're limited to what views they have from the cameras. So like for us, we film from a sideline view, a end zone view. So, and from our sideline view, you can't see anything, but definitely from the end zone, it's obvious. And like I said, those guys are doing the best they can do, and they got to go with what they got, So it'd probably make a whole lot of sense in the SEC for as much money as we got to get end zone cameras, But again, I'm not sure. That was a big play in the game, and it's unfortunate that it happened that way. But, we made plenty of errors in the game, and you got to give South Carolina credit for creating a lot of those issues. And we've got to get where we don't make those errors.
Coach, in looking ahead to this coming week, you got Charlotte. They, from a stats perspective, they look opportunistic defensively. But in what you've seen of them, what challenges do they present?
Well, like I said, they're very well coached. You look at their coaching staff, there's tons of experience on the staff, on offense and defense. Offensively, they give you multiple looks. They're committed to running the football. They've went for it, I think, 9 or 10 times already this year on 4th down. Defensively, they stop the run. They create negative plays. They get turnovers, and when you watch them on special teams, they play with speed. So they got good players, very well coached. And for us, every week we've really tried to focus on us because we feel like if we can just fix us, that's what we can control. So that's what we're going to go back and try to do this week.
Patrick and Mike Olson.
Jeremy, when you went back and watched the game, what did you like about the way Jarrett played, and what are some things he needed to do differently just in terms of throws and reads and things like that? How would you, assess his play?
Jarrett, I've said all along, Jarrett's a tough guy. He made some really good throws in the game, made some really good decisions, and I think we played 73 offensive snaps, and probably 65 of those he played extremely well. There's probably 3 throws that he would have liked to have had back. And there's probably, 5 decisions, whether it was a check or with protection or maybe starting on the wrong side of the field, that he was wrong on, But I thought he showed a lot of courage, played really hard, was a really good leader for our team. We just need to fix those other plays, and he can do that. We ask him to do a lot of things, so which I think it helps our offense. He gets us in the right plays in the run game. We can make checks from run to pass. He can change protections. But there's a lot of demand on him, and he can handle it. There's just a few things that we got to fix from this past week.
Jeremy, it seemed like there was a concerted effort to find ways to get the ball in Carlin's hands. Was that the case, and what allowed him to kind of contribute so quickly after moving back to running back?
Well, Carlin can run, so he's not going to learn the offense in 3 days, kind of like Jeremy's not going to learn the defense. So, we just found a couple of special plays that we felt fit his skill set, and kind of went with him. He'll obviously get more reps this week and probably have a bigger role.
Last couple, David and Jesse.
Following up on Jarrett, when you look at big picture, the hits that he's taken, some of the protection issues, how much responsibility does Jarrett bear for that, and how much that's on the offensive line?
Well, when you look at it, I've said several times, you can 7-man protect, you can 8-man protect, you can do 5 out, empty. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. The closer you get everybody, there's more guys that can actually come. So, it's when you're doing 5 outs, it's on the quarterback to make sure either, hey, you're going to be hot or you got to be able to slide to protection, but he got flushed a few times the other day in 8-man protection. So, it probably, I don't know what the percentage would be.
Final question, Jesse.
I guess lastly, just on Jarrett, you had mentioned pregame maybe hopes of playing 2 quarterbacks. Was that a game script deal that just why Keller didn't get in, or was that just you having confidence in Jarrett with the way he was playing and just kind of wanting to stick with him?
Yeah, well, first of all, Jarrett being healthy from the previous game, so we rep both guys, and they actually took the same amount of reps this week, and it was going to be kind of a game time decision. And, looking at it, one thing that I don't like to do is I don't want to tell a kid something that you can't follow through with, if that makes sense. So, the games that we've decided that we're going to play Keller, I've told him, hey, you're going to play this game. I'm not going to tell you what series it's going to be, because I don't want to say, hey, you're going to go in the 4th series and we're getting the ball on the -1 yard line and we've changed quarterbacks. So we've tried to be consistent with our message. I think our players respect that. So I didn't go into the game and say, hey, Keller, you're going to play. And another part of that is you don't want the other guy looking over his shoulder. You want him to be able to play and play with confidence. And, and that's the one thing to me about Keller Chris that I respect so much, is he's come in here and been a phenomenal teammate. Our players really kind of rally around him. I've said before, I've seen as the years went, him and Jarrett have really worked well together. And and he can do anything in our game plan. And but really to answer your question, you know, we were going to go with Jarrett. If we needed to make a move, we would make a move.
Thank you, Coach.